Later this afternoon, MLAs will be discussing a cross-party motion calling for race relations laws here to be strengthened. It's been supported by the Northern Ireland Council on Ethnic Minorities. Its Deputy Director, Barry Fitzpatrick, explains why he thinks the law doesn't go far enough here.
My name is Barry Fitzpatrick. I'm Deputy Director of the Northern Irish Council for Ethnic Minorities. There's a legal obligation on public authorities in Great Britain not to discriminate on grounds of race when they're performing all their different functions. We have a more limited duty here in Northern Ireland that doesn't apply to important public functions like policing, immigration, taxation and planning. So we think it's an urgent reform in the race relations order that we're brought into line with Great Britain on that particular front. It's the responsibility of the Office of First Minister and Deputy First Minister for bringing forward a bill to the Assembly to reform the order. Now, we have to say that for about 10 years, since the creation of the Single Equality Commission in 1998, people have been talking about bringing all the statutes into a single equality statute. That's now happening in Great Britain, before Westminster at the moment, but OFM, DFM have no plans to introduce a single equality bill in Northern Ireland in the short term, and that's why we're seeking this urgent reform of the race relations order. We've been waiting for these urgent reforms. We've been told wait for the single equality bill. Now we're saying we can't wait any longer. We need these reforms now.
Barry Fitzpatrick of the Northern Ireland Council for Ethnic Minorities was speaking to our reporter Francis Scoman. Well, with me now is one of the proposers of that motion. It's Don Purvis of the PUP. Thanks, Don, for joining us. Just looking at the other proposers, it is cross-party with Alliance on board, the SELP and Sinn Féin. Did you make any approaches to the Us Unionists or the DUP?
No, I didn't. I heard that the motion had been tabled for debate and went down and signed it as soon as I read it, because I think it's a worthy motion and I think it's something that all parties need to be supporting. So
it really was a case of whoever wants to sign up, and these are the ones that chose to do so. Does that say anything about where this stands in priorities with the parties here?
Well, I think it's an indication, because we've been waiting on Single Equality Bill coming for quite some time. You heard Barry Fitzpatrick talking about the Single Equality Commission being set up in 1998. We had all hoped, and there was a green paper produced on a single equality bill. It seems to have disappeared off the table since around 2006. So like other issues in the Assembly around equality and trying to address divisions, like our strategy for cohesion, sharing and integration, it seems that the major parties in the executive seem reluctant to try and address the inequalities and divisions that exist in our society.
I mean, that sort of standoff about the single equality bill, it's not really about racism, is it? It's unionists and nationalists not getting together over those equality issues here closer to home. So this is a case of sort of racism, or the law on racism suffering because of the age-old differences here.
Well, that's it. That's basically it. And that's why, I mean, the race relations legislation as it sits at the minute in Northern Ireland allows for discrimination of ethnic minorities in certain respects of services like planning and policing and etc. etc. And that has went to the wall while we all hold our breath, waiting on the DUP and Sinn Féin to get their act together to try and reach agreement on addressing inequalities and divisions that exist here. I mean, particular example was the programme for government when it was first issued as a draft had absolutely nothing in it to address the issue of sectarianism, which we've seen culminated in the very brutal murder of Kevin McDade at the weekend. Now, unless our executive, or until our executives start to get to grips with some of the most divisive issues that exist in our society, we're saying, look, we can't allow this to continue, and if you're not coming out with a single equality bill, let's review the race relations legislation.
Don Purvis, many thanks indeed.